welcome back to those who, raise your hand if you've been to speaker sessions before today. And today, wonderful. Raise your hand if you've never been to a speaker session. Amazing. Raise your hand if you've never been to a soul search event. I love it. That's amazing. Newbies, this is wonderful. Well, welcome. We hope you feel a little bit shifted so far. We hope that you feel our mission and our passion to create a safe space for you to be on your journey wherever that might be. We hope you find your tribe with us. Once you walk through those doors, to us you are family. So we hope you just bask in the bliss of what we have to offer today with all of our amazing speakers and healers and vendors. We have our online community, our Facebook community. Feel free to click on the QR code at the front table. We'd love to have you in our community. We don't do anything with your information. You just become a part of our community to communicate with other like-minded, like-hearted tribe members, to be close to amazing healers and practitioners like Lisa, and to be kept up on all our upcoming events. We're going to be back here January 13th and 14th. We hope to see you then. And on 12/12, we are launching Soul Search TV. Conscious content disguised as sheer entertainment, as I like to call it. So no matter where you are in your journey, we will have something for you. We're launching on 12/12. We'll be continually adding shows like wonderful content. We hope very soon from our amazing Lisa McCardle, one of my favorite people in the whole world. And I had an amazing bio written for her, and at 2 o'clock this morning I pulled it up and I said, oh good, it's done, I've got it. Cannot find it, so I am not sure where it is, but all I can tell you in my experience with Lisa, I can tell you a lot, but in my experience with Lisa, being in her presence allows me to feel like I can stand in my own divine feminine and be balanced with my own divine masculine, be on my journey where I am, stand in what I've been through in my life, knowing that I am deserving and worthy and that everything happens for me, not to me. She has this beautiful, gentle, yet powerful way of standing with you and allowing you to feel like you can basically overcome anything and take that energy to allow you to move forward to your next amazingness. And so she will be talking to you today about the 5 pillars of consciousness to help on your own awakening journey. And I know you will bask in the bliss with her as much as I do. So with that said, welcome Lisa. And please do doesn't want to leave your talks.
Hi everybody.
We have a time frame, so when we get up and go, it's not personal.
Thank you. And if anyone needs to get up and go, do whatever you need to do. It's all kind of trust the unfolding. I will give you a little bit of my bio. I have been a sighted one since birth, with the ghosts in my bedroom talking to me when I was 3, 4, and 5.
Right.
It was terrifying. And I was raised very religious, and that was what?
So that too was terrifying.
Yeah, that was also terrifying. And the two don't meld well. So when I was about 5 years old, I shut down all my gifts. In my mid-20s, I became a massage therapist, and I was massaging a gentleman at a very high-end resort in California, and my vision came back in that moment, and that was even terrible. So it's been a journey. I've been on a journey of consciousness, of awakening, and of service my entire life. I've had 4 spiritual awakenings in my life, and I have been a healer, an intuitive, a psychic, a medium, clairvoyant, and I am a spirit channel. I work with a group of 13 beings called the Light Council. They're galactic beings. And I also work with a council of 13 divine mothers, the orientation of Mother Mary, Kuan Yin, Magdalene. And so I've been doing a lot of stuff in this world, and like most of us, I've been on a crazy ride these last 2 years. Have any of you? A little bit of an intense journey the last 2 years. Yeah, we're in it, and that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. Have any of you felt like you're losing your minds? You're not, you're simply awakening. And what we're doing right now is we are elevating and activating consciousness. I did publish my first book in May. It was 2 years in the making, and I will share some pieces and parts of that as we go, including my own story of what my last 2 years have been like. And what's really essential to understand is that we are in a dimension shift. How many of you know what that means? How many of you don't know what that means? Okay, awesome. So let's start there. Dimensions are frequencies. They're not places. And so planet Earth, the space we've been living in and have been for thousands of years, is vibrating and has been vibrating at a third dimensional frequency. Have you heard of 3D, 5D? Yeah. So most have heard of it, but don't always know what it means. So the book is based on the principles of this ascension. We've heard a lot about awakening, a lot about ascension, and now we're going to talk about what it actually means. So we're in a dimension shift. It means we are elevating frequency. So dimensions are vibrational frequencies. They have different codes. The one that we have been in is a slow, dense, and intense ride. And we've been doing it for so long and for so many lifetimes, if you believe that you've had more than one lifetime. We've been doing it for so long that we didn't even realize the density of which we were walking through. So souls choose to come to planet Earth to have soul elevation, soul activation, and we choose to come into this density to fulfill karma and to learn through contrast. As we're elevating, this is what we're experiencing, this is why everything feels really wobbly. How many of you notice that time feels different? Is time going really fast? So the higher dimensions, we're moving into a fifth dimensional awareness, and fifth dimension vibrates faster. Everything moves faster. It's a quicker zzz. And so we feel more anxious, especially our young people. There's a lot of anxiety on the planet right now. There's not many of us that don't have some sense of an anxiousness about something's changing. We know something's changing, we simply don't always know what it is. And we can only see through our own lens. So we can say, oh, well, I'm having this experience because this happened or that happened. But what's happening is a global experience. And so at the higher dimension, at fifth dimensional awareness, if this is about contrast and soul agreements and kind of suffering a little bit to learn, right? It's like, oh, that sucked, I don't want to do that again. I must want this. At this higher dimension that we're evolving into, we remember that we are these infinite souls that are in fact connected to everything. Now there's a big journey to get there. And we are in the elevation. So we talk about third dimensionality, we talk about fifth dimensionality. What happens to get all four? So I see them as stairs or as platforms. And so this is the resting place, and this is the rise, like the stairs. And so the fourth dimension is what takes us up and down. I had no idea we were talking about this today, by the way, but here we are. This is what takes us up to this higher dimensional awareness. So we're on a journey. This is awakening. And it isn't something that's, well, some believe there might be a grand flash and everyone will just wake up in higher dimensionality. I believe that we're walking a path to get there. And what we have to do, which is going to take us through the 5 pillars, is there's 5 very specific tools that enable us to get on that 4D elevator and then land in this new frequency. So, pillar number 1 is presence. And presence is something that we hear a lot about. And it seems really easy, like, yeah, I'm here, but are you? How often do we believe that we're present, but our mind is cascading and racing into 7,000 different things that need to be done? We're present, our body's here, but are we fully here? So I'd love to take us through a little bit of an exercise for the next few minutes. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes down. I'm going to invite you to take a nice deep breath. And I'm going to invite you to be in presence. And from that place, go ahead and stay right there. I want you to observe if your mind was racing and where your thoughts went, how present you were actually able to be. And then I'm going to invite you to simply use your senses to listen, to focus the mind on your breath, to feel your skin, your clothes, the taste in your mouth, the smell. Using your senses to take you to a deeper level of presence. And then go ahead and take a breath and come back here with me. I simply wanted you to get a little bit of a gauge of like, how present are you? And did you notice the mind wanting to take you away? Did any of you have that experience of, oh, what about this? And why am I doing this? And this is kind of silly. What about? And I've got an appointment at 3 and I'm going to get a reading from that lady. Right? This is how we move through our reality. So often it's like, no, I'm right here. But are you? And so some of the tools that I use to find presence is I will often tap on my thymus gland. Or just tap right here, like right here, Lisa, like right here in this body, in this moment. And if it's really jacked up, then I'll be like right here, right here. So there's presence, then there's fierce presence. When all of you is here at the table, as an hollow bone. Has anyone heard that term, hollow bone? It's a shamanic term. Thank you. It's a shamanic term, and what it means is, especially as healers, when we show up to somebody in service, we show up as the hollow bone, which means I'm not bringing anything to you, and I take nothing from you. The hollow bone gets to be the conduit of divinity to move through. And it's really important, especially when we're in these spaces where there's a lot of healers that gather, and most of you are healers. If you have actualized that, acknowledged it, and become it or not, you are, because you're human on the planet. And it has been created that all of the healers and the high vibrational beings have been placed on planet Earth right now because we're birthing a new Earth. We're dimension shifting. What is happening on this planet has never occurred before. It's a really big deal. And you are a really big deal because you exist within this. Only the supersonic souls are here right now. So, in my work of 30 years, I would say the biggest thing that most humans need to heal is to know that they are worthy. And if you have any question about your worth, please know that the fact that you are here as a human being on this planet at this time means that you are worthy because you exist. That might be the biggest message I'll give you today. So receive it in your hearts. So the present piece to this is that it's the first step, it's the first pillar, because we have to get out of the mind that holds all of the programs and information and all of the thoughts. How often do you ask someone how they feel and they say, I think I feel? We have to get out of that mind. I'm going to walk you through an exercise in a little bit that's actually going to help you to get down into the body, and it's something that you can practice so that the mind it shoulds. It tells you what you should do. It has all of these stories. It has all of these ideas. It keeps you. It doesn't actually want you to be in presence. It has a vibration of its own, and where you're going to find your true resonance, your connection into presence, is by sinking down and getting into your feeling state. I had you use the exercise of your senses to help you get into a deeper presence. Did you notice how that shifted? So when you pay attention to what you're hearing, what you're smelling, what you're feeling, you become more in your body. You start to get out of the matrix of the mind. Your mind holds the programs of the third dimensional expression. Your body holds the soul's awareness of what the higher vibration feels like, so you can become that. So first we move to presence, because until you are present, nothing or very little else is available to you. So from presence, pillar number 2 is connection. When we talk about connection, I see connection. Spirit's been saying to me, especially over the last 2 years, that there are only 3 points of connection that are going to hold up in the new frequency. It's self to self, self to higher self. So higher self to me is our soul self. It's our higher consciousness. When I do my readings, I ask that my higher self and your higher self meet up here in the 8th chakra. And then the information pours through me as the hollow bone to give it back to you. So I wanted to say earlier that with all the healers and everything that is here, no one ever heals you. No one ever tells you anything you don't already know. You are the sovereign being of your entire reality. And if someone is showing up in healing, they're showing up with you to show you what it is you cannot see so you can see it clearly for yourself. All any psychic medium any of us ever do is witness what is alive within the essence of you and share it back to you. You are the powerful healer in your reality, and sometimes beings come to help you, but they do not have sovereignty over you. Can I get an amen? I mean, especially because I hear it all the time, like, oh, I can heal that, I healed her, I did. It's like, I call BS on all that. No one heals anybody else. We pull in divine source and we activate the healer that is you to be in your highest vibration so that healing may occur in the presence of. Feel that? Feel the difference? So 3 points that will hold up in the new frequency. Self to self, self to higher self, which is your soul self, and self to source, God, Goddess, Creator self. Those 3 points of energy. So what we're experiencing on the planet right now is a little prelude to pillar 3, which is deconstruction. But I'll get there in a moment. We're experiencing a need to extract and deconstruct things. These 3 points are your home base. They're the points that are going to keep you and deliver you to the promised land. But you can't get into that connection frequency until first you are present. That's why we have step 1. And so when we're connected, we then get to have and see all of the messages of the universe. How many of you see a lot of number codes? How many of you understand animal codes, like what the animals like? The hawk has a message. The hawk is a messenger, but butterflies, dragonflies, all those things. This is how the universe communicates with you. And they all have meanings. Colors have meaning, sound has meaning, frequency has meaning, animals have meaning, numbers have meaning. Everything is coded for your pleasure. How awesome is that? And people say, well, like, how do you crack the code? How do I know what it all means? Well, this is the one time that Google's probably a really good friend. Spiritual meaning of. I probably Google that 5 times a day. Spiritual meaning of the number 11. Spiritual meaning of butterfly. Spiritual, now I've been playing with these codes for 30 years, so most of them live within my being. But if you don't know what they are, then look it up. And the more familiar you get, but at first you have to have presence so you can have the connection, so you can receive the messages of the universe. The universe is always guiding you. It's always wanting to deliver you. It's just that we get so stuck in the matrix of our own thinking that we try and figure everything out without allowing ourselves to be led, guided, and in co-creation with Source itself. And then from that connection point, we also get to get connected in with the earth. So how many of you have heard of earthing? Okay. So earthing, for those of you who don't know, is about getting your bare feet to the earth. There's actually an electromagnetic exchange that occurs. It helps with inflammation, it helps with healing, it helps with communication. We are sensory beings. We are pinging off of each other all the time. And Gaia, our earth, holds a frequency that is here to support us, and we are here to support her.
Why we like walking in the sand on the
That's
beach.
why we like walking on the sand and the beach. And I do believe, and I won't get too deep into this, but I do believe there's some oppositional forces on the planet right now that are dark energies. that have been ruling over humanity for some time. It's okay. Light and dark must exist. It is the duality of the world we live in currently. But there is these energies would be highly served if we did not elevate our frequency to our greatest light. So there's been some things put in place, and I believe that shoes are one of them. Because when we rubberize the base of our feet, we stopped connecting to the frequency of the earth. And then we forgot we were connected. And then we've been walking around trying to figure out who the hell we are. And it's not easy. Like, this is not an easy journey. My guides have been telling me for 2 decades, this is the hardest thing you're ever gonna do. But we promise you it'll be worth it. And now I know what they meant, because it's been really intense. So get your feet to the earth, get your body to the earth, walk in the sand, let the elements of nature do what they're intended to do. It's an exchange of energy. It helps you to heal, it helps you to ground. We have all of this frequency moving around, most of it assimilated through our Wi-Fi and our 5G, all this stuff. No wonder we all have a lot of anxiety. But the counter to that is to get your feet to the earth. And I can take my shoes off right now. Get your feet to the earth, and that's going to help you to ground. It's going to help you to come into a higher level of presence. It's going to help you to assimilate that connection. And I also highly encourage that people move into, how many are familiar with meditation? And how many are familiar with prayer? So as I perceive it, and this is not an original thought, prayer is talking to God, Goddess, Creator, Universal Intelligence. Meditation is listening. And both are really important. Both will bring you the presence that is needed, and the connection that is needed to that self, higher self, and to source itself. So those are 2 tools that are in the tool book in here to help you assimilate this massive change that you're going through. This brings us, actually I'm gonna take you into a transmission. I wanted to give you a little bit of a transmission while we're here. How am I doing on time? I have my 12:30. Okay, cool. I am going to take you into a little bit of a guided journey that's going to kind of hone in and honor both presence and connection. So go ahead and shut your eyes down for a moment. Get your feet to the floor if it's comfortable. Take a nice deep breath with me. We're just going to do like a 5-minute journey. So I'm going to invite you to crawl back up into that mind of yours, even though we've been diligently getting you out of it. And just observe it for a minute. It is like Grand Central Station up there. And I want you to think of some of your busiest mind movements, days at work or something you've been processing, just for a moment. We're not going to get lost in it. But I want you to see the matrix of the mind. I want you to see it for what it is. It's like it's Grand Central Station. I see it like the helm of the spaceship. Or like the watchtower at the airport. Windows and bells and whistles and screams and noise and files and buttons. And observing how your mind matrix wants to show itself to you. And I want you to amplify it in some ways to its greatest. And then I want you to find the trapdoor to get out, which I usually find on the floor of the mind. And there'll be a handle or a button or something you push. I want you to make note of this because the escape hatch of your mind shall forevermore be made available to you. And once you get that door open, you're going to slip out and you're going to see that there is either an elevator or a staircase or a spiral staircase or a chute or a ladder. I don't care if it's a string. Whatever it is that is going to be able to carry you down from the mind, and you're going to move down through the inner workings of your body. And you're gonna maybe stop by the heart, level 4. Maybe a door to the elevator opens and you get to see this beautiful sacred heart of yours. This is a space that you get to become really familiar with, if you shall allow it. And you are the observer in this. There's nothing that needs to be changed. You're simply stopping by your sacred heart and picking up some of its essence and some of its energy so that you can remember the difference of how it feels to be in a space of your heart, which is your unconditional love, versus your thinking, overworking self that you have left behind. Take a breath. And then you're going to get back on your chute, ladder, rope, elevator, and you're going to go to level 2. And level 2 opens you in your second chakra. If you don't know what that means, it's fine. It is the space of your womb. And yes, men have womb energy too. It's just a little bit of a different technology. But you're going to open that door, and I ask you to see it as a room. And I ask you to create it as the most amazing space you've ever seen. A space you'd like to spend a lot of time in. I like to put sheepskins and fire and flowers and dim lights in mine. Sometimes there's windows, sometimes there's not. For those of you old enough to remember, I dream of Jeannie. It's like her bottle. So create this space. And then observe anytime the mind says, hey, get back up here. And you can say, no, thank you, mind. I'm hanging out in the room for a while. And I want you to play with this in your time to such a degree that with a thought, you can skip out of the matrix of the mind and move into the actualization of your womb space. Now, from a second chakral frequency, the womb is a space where your dreams can be made manifest, where your creations and creativity can be birthed through you. And then, for the purposes of our time together, I'm going to ask you to envision that you drop down out of the womb room for a moment, and you drop down through your first chakra, the base of your pelvic floor, and you go down straight into the center of Gaia, into her womb space. So you can feel what it feels like to be held by the mother. And so you can drop an anchor or wrap your energy around a crystal in the center of the womb of Gaia. To me, it looks like a cave with water. It feels like the mother's womb. It feels like birth. So we're simply visiting this space so you know it exists. And you're going to pull your energy back up, loop it back up into your womb. Bring your awareness back up into your heart. And with a breath, you're going to bring yourself back into this room. And so that process is called the womb room. And in my book, I have several links to free meditations. This is 2 of them merged together, but they're tools, they're technologies you can use to help your ascension and to help you get out of the craziness of the mind. So once we go through these 2 pillars, we get to pillar number 3, and this is where the fun happens. When I was writing the book, I got to pillar 3, which is the deconstruction phase. And what this means is that once you're in presence, once you're in connection, once you start expanding your energy vibrationally, because we're birthing a new earth, you have to let go of the things that were created behind you often. There's a chapter in my book called Rise or Release. How many of you have either had to change homes, relationships, jobs, or some of your old ways of being just aren't really flying anymore. So it's important to, it's important to understand that this is the collective rise. That everything that we created behind us was created from a third dimensional principle. Remember, I started by saying that's density, that's learning from contrast, that's fulfilling karma. This lifetime is the lifetime where we are completing karma. Because if you think about karma, it's a deaded frequency. You do some good stuff, you'll get some good stuff later. You do some not such good stuff, you gotta pay a price. That is a density ride. Do you feel it? You are exalted light beings that when you remember who you are, don't have to create contrast. 5D living is a remembered state of being the magic God, goddess creators that you are. It means you don't have to learn through lessons, contrast, and pain anymore. That's where humanity is going. Have you heard the terms heaven to earth? Heaven is when you're out of body and you're in soul form and you're remembering everything, and we come to earth, forget everything, go through this hell ride, and then learn a few things. And I mean, like, it just doesn't make sense, does it? So, from the new perspective and where we're going, and I don't know how long it's going to take, but we're on our way, we will be able to bring all of that consciousness into this human form where we get pleasure and senses and delight. And remember, we're connected to all things, and so therefore we do no harm. Because you would never sooner harm you than I would harm myself if I remember that I'm worthy and a being of light. So deconstruction is the phase that we have to let go. And so my own personal story that I'll make really short is as I was writing this book, when I got to the deconstruction phase, the kingpin of my life pulled out, and I went through a very dark night of the soul. It started when our family home was being sold. I lived in California. It was a hot, hot, hot market. It was 2021. And we didn't own the house, so it was selling. I was already in the process of reconstructing my online business. And I was looking at and my son was going off to college. I was looking at my 15-year relationship going, oh my God, I think we're done. Our karma's complete. We loved each other very much. We had a beautiful, amicable, loving relationship, but our karma was complete and we weren't growing. And so the house was selling, and I knew that if I didn't start to speak about the need for change, that I was going to move with this man, and I was going to stay in the assimilation of my comfort zone, which was not allowing my soul to have its greatest growth. So we did the hardest thing I thought we were ever going to do, and we separated, consciously uncoupled, very lovingly. I sold 80% of my home belongings, deconstructed my 3,300 square foot beautiful home, and was like, wow, that was intense. And 7 weeks later, he died. Completely unexpectedly. And then I went into the most intense experience I had ever had. I was 52 years old, and I had never experienced death. So when grief came in, she was not taking me lightly. So I thought I did the hardest stuff, and that was all preparation for what was to come. Fast forward a year later, then the second house, the house that I'm staying in temporarily while I can try and find my way back, sells, and there was nothing was opening, and the only door that opened was a home in Sedona that my friends owned, so I left my 27-year community after that, and ended up in Sedona last year. So, it's all written in the book. The level of deconstruction was something that was so profound, and I have such a tremendous amount of gratitude for it at this point, because I have become something that is entirely different than who I was when I entered into the death world. You cannot rebirth without death. And all of us are dying in some ways. And when we let go of those things that are some of the hardest things that we know aren't for us, it is a death. So Spirit told me in the interim between the separation and the death, you will die 1,000 deaths to be reborn 1,001 times. And it's only the one that matters. I had no idea what they were telling me until I did. So I say this because I know you can all relate in your own experiences. And I say it because it's what humanity is going through. This is not child's play. This is the biggest thing we've ever done as humans. And he promised you, as my guide say, it'll be worth it. So we are here coming together to go through the deconstruction because what sits on the other side of it is ascension. And when we go through the portal of death, it is so that we can rise back up in a greater light. What has happened in my life is what the second book is being written about has been profound. Not only was it the hardest thing I've ever done, it's also been the greatest miracle I've ever experienced. Because I have been put onto a trajectory of my greatest service. The divine feminine awakening is what has come out of the death portal, and I don't believe I would have gotten there if I hadn't had the experience. And my service has now amplified in a lot of ways. So what does ascension look like? Ascension looks like coming into a greater remembrance of why you're here, of anchoring in your purpose on the planet, and of, I'm going to say attempting, because we're still in the phase of attempting, to hold the highest vibration that you can hold. What's so key about this journey that we are on is that we are not doing this alone. And how many of you feel like you're alone? Because the density of the third dimension is all about separation. And we've been in this separation portal forever. And now that we actually know, or starting to know, even if we don't know what it is, we know something's going on. We can see it and we know it doesn't feel good. And so as we accelerate and as we're moving into the ascension piece, it means we truly have to lock arms. We have to, and I do these talks because however it's touched your heart, is so that you know that you are not alone in this journey. That we are humans walking this path together, and the fullness of our ascension means we remember who we are at soul level. And some of us are popping through the veils of remembrance just a little bit ahead of the rest of us. And we do that, and this is how Spirit shows it to me. We do it bravely. Like all of a sudden I see the woman in a, what was the boat saying? Yeah, remember she stands on the end like that. We do it bravely, and we just keep lifting our head to the light and riding the waves, but her hands were behind her. And so I believe that those of us who pop through the veils just an inch or so ahead of the rest. And don't get me wrong, it's not like, oh, I've made it up here. It's like, I made it up here, and then I fell back here, and then I'm, you know, it's this like 1 foot in 3D, 1 foot in 5D, and it's exhausting. How many are tired? Get your feet to the earth. Yeah, it's an exhausting journey, right? And so I believe every time we pop up into that 5D or stand solid in the fourth dimension, which is the space in between, it is literally so we can put our hands down behind us or turn our gaze back and say, like, I got you. I know this is intense. And just wait. The next step is going to be a little bit better. It's going to be a little bit lighter. I got you. Those are my 3 favorite words any human can say to me right now. I got you. And so if we walk around knowing that we have self to self, self to higher self, self to source itself, and we ride through this crazy matrix deconstruction into the new that is coming. This is what our soul said yes to. We said yes to coming here to do this. Good job. We don't do it alone. So everything that you have ridden through, every experience you have had, every deconstruction, every piece of it is so that you can turn around and say, I got you. I got you. I know what that is like. And we don't say, I know what that is like. It's like, tell me your story. This is what grief taught me. I had no idea how to help people when they were in grief until I knew. And the thing that you do when someone's in grief is you ask them to tell you their story. You don't tell them yours. You listen. You be that hollow bone I talked about in the beginning. All we need to heal is to be witnessed and to remember that we are worthy because we exist. So the 5th pillar is called rise. And I believe that the 5th pillar is exactly what I've been talking about. It's about rising in service. It's about, okay, I might have a little bit of an understanding of how to ride this wobble wheel because of where my reality is in this moment. And so I know that everything I've walked through, especially in these last 2 years, like the first 30 was all preparation. The last 2 was my deconstruction to anchor my highest level of service on this planet. And that is true for each and every one of you. And that last pillar is rise to be in service, that we really do lock arms and we do this together. So suffering is a product of third dimensionality. Remembrance and unity consciousness and unification is the full expression of 5D, fifth dimension. And from fifth dimension, we just keep going higher and higher. That's a whole other book. So I would love to say that I see you, I honor you, I remember you, and I welcome you to your highest dimension, that you are able to sustain in this time. And none of us are doing this alone. So, my book's for sale. I have some classes coming up. I'm out there in the main hall. I would love to see you after this. I'm doing some readings after I get some lunch. But before we close, does anyone have any questions or comments about anything that's been shared here?
I don't have a question, I just want to say thank you, that's fantastic.
You're so welcome, and I have those earrings too.
Oh, you
Yeah, aren't they fun? Yeah, and you have my bracelet on.
Yeah.
I love the I got you.
I got you.
That's where I'm at. And I just,
It is my great pleasure. Thank you.
You talked about, I'm sorry,
Okay, go ahead.
you talked about messages, numbers.
Yeah.
I see the same number,
What is it?
1111.
Yes. Well, 1111. 11 is the number of mastery. So all of the numbers have codes, and the numbers show you what they are by, even if you just look at the shape of the numbers and touch it. So the number 1 is the number 1. It is the beginning of all things. Whenever numbers are paired together, they stand in the mirror of each other, and their frequency becomes amplified. When you add that amplification to the 4, so the number 4 is the number of the heart, it's 4th chakra. So it becomes love. And bye, lady.
Thank you.
So good to see you. Here, do you want a card before you go?
yes, actually, we wanted to talk to you when you're done.
Yeah, I'll be out there. So the 11 is actually when I started, one of my first spiritual awakenings, I was in my late teens, and I would wake up at 11:11 and 1:11. So much so that it freaked me out. It was scary. It's scary when you wake up. You're like, what is happening? So it's the code of the master. Yeah, it's the code of the master. And what the 11 means is that you are to stand in your mastery and in your highest service. You are here for the fresh new beginning of the consciousness of the planet. And the master codes are what's coming through. And so when we go through the 11:11 portal of the month, I'm actually doing a part of a retreat. I live in Sedona right now, and we're doing an 11:11 event up there. There's things of it, on the table out there. So welcome to your mastery. The number codes are here to tell you you're on the right path, to affirm that you are in the right place at the right time, so you can look at numbers and the symbols as affirmation. Yeah, and all the numbers have meanings.
The question I had, you talked about hearing somebody that's breathing, hearing their
Yes.
story. What about people that are dying? I'm kind of in that place of being around people that are dying.
Oh, well, thank you for being a doula for death. It's a big energy. I'm not 100% clear on your question. How to support them? Is that the
How
question?
to be present.
How to be present, okay. So, to be present for one thing is to be present for all things. So what we've talked about today about presence is exactly how you become present in that process. I believe that Spirit, God, Creator, puts us where we need to be, and holding people through death and birth with the exact same frequency. You know, we come into this planet, we take our first breath, we leave with our last. And we need dualism support in both. The best way, I believe, to hold, to support someone who's dying is to, it depends on which stage of death they're in, but it's to listen to them. Again, any presence is about listening as a hollow bone. I do believe if they're in a cognitive space, it's important for people to be able to talk about what they believe will happen when they die. Because I believe that whatever your beliefs are is the experience you're gonna have. A lot of people are scared to die, and you could ask them why. What do they believe around that? We have a lot of religious conditioning between heaven and hell, and there's pain penance and things like that. That can have real effect. And so if someone holds a lot of fear around death, I believe that they hold on more than they might need to. So anything you can do to reassure them that it's okay, and to ask, don't tell what their belief systems are, maybe give them some opportunities for light. I do believe that if someone's struggling to let go, it's really beautiful to give them permission. Everything you already know. I'll never tell you anything you don't know. You're the master. Any other questions, comments? All right, well, I hope to see all of you out there. Thank you so much for your time and your love, and thank you for your presence on the planet and doing what it is you're doing.
Thank you.